All right, so welcome to Liberation Minded Media. Family, today we have to talk about the story of Cyrus Belton. So in case y'all aren't up to speed, Cyrus Belton was a young brother, 14 years old, who was murdered by a store owner in South Carolina who thought that he was stealing water. And, you know, like these cowards do, and we've been seeing this, we've seen this with the case of our brother, what was his name in New York? Neely, right? Who was apprehended from the back. Like this is what these cowards will do. They don't care how really defenseless or non-threatening you are, or if you're not a threat to them. They will still shoot you, choke you from behind. So this is, one of those stories to where it will get swept under the rug if we allow it to. This is about a week old or so. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get into the story of this young brother, what happened, but we're also going to get into some solutions. See, no matter what, we have to maintain solution oriented, no matter what our challenges are. That's what separates the new black media, the independent grassroots platforms that we have to support and contribute to. That don't just mean monetarily. That means like if you're on social media and you're sharing these stories, you're speaking about these stories, you're helping the algorithms make sure these stories are picked up. If you're in the area, you're making noise about it. And we have plans of action to make sure that we get justice for all of these cases, because these cases set precedents. See, what happened in New York is they try to set a precedence that they can murder us with impunity, even if we're not threatening. So, saying like what happened in New York, it wasn't a situation where there was somebody that was threatening others and somebody feared for their life, just like this case. So we have to make sure that justice for the slain of unjustified murder is the order of the day. So this is the brother right here. Let's go ahead and get him on the screen. I want y'all to see this. 14-year-old brother. Now you can look at this brother. You can see how young he is. They keep referring to him as a young man. He's a child. He's not just so much child. He's 14 years old. He's underage. He's not even 18. He's not even old enough. He wasn't even old enough to drive. And they claim that he was trying to steal some water. So they chased him out the store, shot him in the back. Let's get a look at the culprit. So South Carolina turned up. We're going to get to some solutions, but first let's go ahead and get to the story. This is the man. What's his name? Rick Chow. South Carolina gas station owner has been charged with murder after he allegedly shot a 14-year-old boy in the back and killed him. So this took like over a week before he was actually charged with murder. So that's good. That's a good first step towards justice. But if we don't stay on this story, though, right, if we let this story just die down and get swept away, or we let distractions from other stories that they will mainstream, and we forget about this story over time, who knows what could happen. So we have to make sure that we stay on their heads about this story. We have to keep this story in the news, because every time we get a victory of somebody that is not just charged, but convicted to the highest degree, that's how we build the momentum to make sure that that is the standard. And at this point, that has to be the standard. So Rick Chow thought a teen was stealing 4 bottles of water. But Cyrus Carmack Belton had reportedly already put the bottles back in the refrigerator and was running away from the store property when he was shot because they were harassing him, right? Accusing him of stealing, pressing him. Obviously, they were armed. So look at this. Carmack Belton was reportedly armed with a gun, but police say there's no evidence the teen ever pointed it at Chow or his son, who was also involved in the case. Let's go ahead and see how MSNBC is reporting this.
To South Carolina, where a community is on edge after a store owner allegedly shot and killed a teenager who was wrongly accused of shoplifting. Rick Chow is now facing a murder charge in the death of 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton. Police say Chow had accused the teen of shoplifting bottles of water. The local sheriff says there is no evidence he stole anything. South Carolina NBC affiliate WIS-TV reporter Nick Neville is live near the store in South Carolina with more now. Nick, walk us through what happened here.
Yes, good morning. So Chow had his first court appearance yesterday. Bond on that murder charge could not be set by the magistrate judge that he came before. It's going to have to be set by a circuit court judge at a later date. Representatives for the family of the victim, as well as for Chow, declined to speak at that hearing. Chow, for his part, also spoke very little at the hearing beyond saying, "Yes, Your Honor," acknowledging that he understood the judge's questions. Just to recap some of the facts of the case here, Chow's accused of chasing Cyrus out of the store Sunday night, suspecting him of shoplifting, and then shooting him into the back. That's according to the Richland County Sheriff's Department. Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott says there's no evidence that he stole anything. RCSD has reviewed surveillance footage as part of the investigation. Sheriff Lott said even if he'd shoplifted 4 bottles of water, that's not something that you shoot anybody over. Chow and his...
Right, but check this out. After we seen what happened with Jordan Neely, so not only did Daniel Penny sneak up from behind, unjustifiably murder, but then he also got rewarded with raising about $2 million in a week or so. With all that kind of support, what that does is that sets precedents. That gives confidence to others. And remember, when we're talking about like racism and white supremacy, we're not just talking about white people. There are Asians who practice white supremacy, Hispanics that practice white supremacy. Hell, there are black people that practice white supremacy. So now if they see something like what happened with Daniel Penny, then they see that as a green light. They're seeing no consequences or very little consequences. Then they feel like they may be able to get away with it too. Don't forget, before the Watts riots in '92, there was a similar case before that with a store owner, an Asian store owner in South Central LA, who murdered a little girl and was acquitted because she thought that she was stealing orange juice, but she wasn't. So this is why it's important for us to continue to keep pushing the issue and making sure that we stay focused and disciplined with our messages and with our plans of action to make sure these things are punished to the highest degree, because that's the only thing that will deter these type of actions against us. Because we know that they don't enforce hate crimes against us. Ironically, they've been enforcing hate crimes against us with all this Stop Asian Hate shit that they've been doing. But you don't see us murdering them.
His son chased Cyrus down the street. The teenager fell, got back up and ran. Lott said Chow's son told his father that Cyrus was armed. According to RCSD, deputies recovered a gun believed to belong to the victim near his body. Now, on Monday, community activists and advocates against gun violence gathered here at this gas station, and those peaceful protests took a turn Monday night when the gas station was broken into. The entire property is now taped off. Sheriff Lott appearing exasperated in a news conference yesterday, saying that vandalizing the property and stealing beer has nothing to do with the murder of this 14-year-old boy. Let's take a listen to Sheriff Lott.
That store did not shoot.
So if you didn't hear that, what they said is that there was protests and activists, and apparently, you know, people looted the store, and that a lot of the protests are against gun violence. But let's be clear, this isn't a gun violence case. This is an anti-black racism murder case. This is a hate crime, if you will. And who gives a damn about if their store gets looted? Listen, I'm not saying what you should be doing if you're in South Carolina, but I'm saying at the very least, what we need to do is pull our support from these types of stores. If you want to take it further than that, listen, I got your back. I ain't even mad at you. I can't tell you how to react. But at the very least, we need to squeeze them out. We need to bleed them out, dry them out. But if we need to do more, then do more. Do what you got to do. Because this cannot be tolerated at all.
That 14-year-old. The person responsible has been arrested. He's in jail. He's in jail. Exactly where he needs to be. That's where justice is being served.
Look at that byline right there. Guns in America. Cut it out, man. As if that's the problem. As if it's not anti-black racism and terrorism. Because we know he wouldn't have shot no Asian in the back, 14-year-old. We know he wouldn't have shot no white boy in the back, 14 years old. He wouldn't have done that. Because he knows that there will be consequences for that. So until we set precedents that there will always be consequences for unjustified murder of our people, men, women, and children, there's not going to be a deterrent not to conduct themselves like this. Let's get into a little bit more. Let's go. Let's see what we got here. All right, so let's play. All right, so this is the press conference that happened.
Anything. We have no evidence that he stole anything whatsoever. There was a verbal confrontation inside the convenience store. The victim went outside. He took off running. The son of the owner of the convenience store gave chase. The father, who owns the convenience store, joined in the chase. He was armed with a pistol. They chased a young man towards Springtree Apartments. Young man fell down. He got back up. At some point, the son said that he had a gun, that the victim had a gun, and we did recover a gun that was close to his body. At that point, the father shot the young man in the back.
Now, who's to say that they didn't put that gun on him? Who's to say that that was his gun? Who's to say that that was Cyrus Belton's gun? I'm gonna keep it a buck. I mean, I'm a pretty good judge of character. And I know that these youngsters be wilding sometimes, but that don't look like a pistol-toting nuisance. He doesn't look like the type, because those types wouldn't have been running. They would have been given smoke. So I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, me personally, I won't put it past them to plant a gun. I mean, they pursued him outside of the store grounds. If they really thought that he stole something, they could have detained him. Two grown persons could have detained this young man and made sure that he didn't steal from them. But they're stealing for petty things they're killing for petty things like water. Because they suspected he may have stole water. That's unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. We can't allow these type of things to continue to happen without any consequences. So now I'm going to show you a video of the coroner, the one that was sitting right next. Matter of fact, we'll go back to this.
Regardless, even if he had shoplifted, 4 bottles of water, which is what he initially took out of the cooler, and then he put them back. That's not something you shoot anybody over, much less a 14-year-old, but you just don't do that. We're charging Rick Chow with murder. I think that is significant for the community to know that, we went through our process of our investigation. We had to wait on the coroner to do our autopsy this morning. We had to talk to witnesses. We had to make sure that we had the facts that we've been able to find. Again, what clouded the issue is that the victim did have a gun. There was a confrontation.
They found a gun. It doesn't mean it was the victim's. They found a gun. Let's get it right. As many excuses as they make for their own. Let's go ahead and give benefit of the doubt to this young child, to this teenage child, 14 years old, probably like what, 9th grade or something, probably barely into high school. Let's give benefit of the doubt that that wasn't his. Since you didn't find it on him and you haven't said that you've linked any DNA evidence or fingerprints saying it was his, surely you did investigation. And if fingerprints was on it that belonged to Cyrus, you would have definitely let us know.
We had to make sure that those who fired the shots did not have that gun pointed at them, and they did not, in legal terms, be in fear of their life. Rick Chow shot this young man in the back, and he killed him. And he is going to be appropriately charged with murder, which is what he should be charged with.
Absolutely should be charged with murder. But that's just the first step. Now what we do is we have to make sure that we see this process through. If you're on the ground in South Carolina, make sure you see this process through. Make sure you continue to put the pressure on them to make sure that he is prosecuted to the fullest extent.
14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton of Columbia died from a single gunshot wound to his right lower back. There were no other injuries that could have contributed to his cause of death.
I'm glad they said that before they try to say that, he had COVID or he was on some lean or some other bullshit. Okay, so it was very clear that without that shot to his back, he would still be alive.
The fatal shot caused significant damage to his heart and hemorrhaging. This is an ongoing investigation. There is no indication that he was shot inside of the store. Again, as the sheriff has mentioned, controlling the narrative is very important here. We've seen lots of things on social media today.
So I just want to make note of that controlling the narrative remark she made. And I get what she's saying, but understand what she's saying. Controlling the narrative is always of the utmost importance. And that's why when it comes to us, it is important that we're able to control our own narrative. She's speaking from the point of view of a police officer to control the narrative of the information. Well, the same thing applies for us. When it comes to our message, our story, we must control the narrative. When it comes to our solutions, we must control the narrative.
Even starting last night with people saying that he was kneeling down, that they were standing over him. That is not true. We don't have any indication that the shot occurred with him in that position. It seems to be consistent with someone who was running away from the assailants. And so we are confident that this was done in a manner that we will now classify as a homicide. This was not an accidental shooting by any means. This was a very intentional shooting. And unfortunately, Cyrus Carmack Belton lost his life.
See, it used to be seen as a coward act. It still is a coward act. But just the very notion in the past of you shooting someone in the back would be seen as the most egregious thing that you can do, and it was punishable even at a higher penalties would be included for shooting someone that's unarmed or someone from behind. But now they're getting so desperate, they're getting so cowardice that they'll even do this to children. So I'm gonna play you another clip of her. I think this was like her personal IG, the same lady that was talking in the corner. Let's just hear what she has to say.
Okay, for those of you that may not have been able to see the press conference, yes, I would like to address the fatal shooting of a 14-year-old young man who died at the hands of a local store owner. He is being charged with murder. The death will be ruled as a homicide. He was shot fatally in his back as he was running away from the store. I want to be very clear because I've seen lots of things on social media. Yes, he was shot in the back. Yes, he was running away. No, he did not shoplift anything from that store. I want to be very clear about that. The video footage that we have seen shows him picking some items up, not stealing them, and then he politely and quickly placed the items back where he found them. He was shot not on the store property. He was shot as they were pursuing him away from the property. So I want to be very clear that as we are looking at things on social media, that we are reading the right narrative. I am the coroner for Richland County. I work collaboratively with the Sheriff's Department, but we must perform our own investigation, and we do that using the body. We use it doing science. They have their whole criminal investigation that they do. I have personally seen that the alleged murderer has been placed into custody. I stayed, I waited. As I was walking out of the Sheriff's Department, I literally saw him being escorted in. He is in police custody. So for those people that are saying, he was not apprehended, yes, he has been apprehended. He is in the Sheriff's Department custody. The 14-year-old who died, his name is Cyrus Belton. We want justice for this young man. Even if he were shoplifting, no one deserves to be shot in their back. This was one gunshot wound. I know that there's going to be lots of media coverage around this. There are protesters down at the gas station where this incident initiated. And so we understand that people are upset. We understand that people are angry. But he is in custody. Please, y'all, please, I am begging you, do not create more trauma for this family by doing anything that is not in a in every group, there's an agitator. There's always somebody who wants to, take a more violent approach to things. But listen, no other lives need to be lost. Let's focus all of our attention and our efforts on making sure that we get justice for Cyrus. I have spoken with his parents. I cannot imagine what they feel right now. People ask me all the time, how do you do this? And I'm gonna tell y'all, I have a son who is that age. I have a son that age. He could be my son.
Now listen, I'm not really mad at what she's saying. I understand that her job as a police officer, even though she's a coroner, she's not like a beat cop. Her job is to not make the police look bad. And in this case, this ain't about the police so much. They did what they're supposed to do. They investigated. They charged the highest level of charge that they could. And now it's up to the court system, and it's up to us. So I understand, her stance of trying to make sure that people don't wrongly blame the police for this situation, and that's cool. Because it don't matter who is the culprit of something like this. I know a lot of times when these things happen, the first thing that police and race soldiers and the media will say, well, what about Chicago? What about black on black crime? Well, let's make sure that we understand a couple things about that. Number one, black on black crime is no more significant than white on white crime, Asian on Asian crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime. They're all at the same rates. That's number one. Number two, when it is quote unquote black on black crime, you never have to worry about the black person who committed the crime being held to the highest consequences. Not only that, it's all a distraction because right now we're talking about what happened to this child. But anyway, I just want to say that.
Do you guys understand that he could be any of our kids? He went into the store to get drinks, he was visiting a family member, and it could have been your child. It could have been your loved one who walked in and didn't come home. It makes me emotional. It makes me angry. It makes me upset. But this is why I love being the coroner, because I can help families understand how their child died. I can help them where there have been, all sorts of bad crimes committed against our young black men. But I'm telling you, in this case, the police did not do this. I've seen where on social media, people have said that the police shot him. That is not true.
So I get it. Like I said, her being a police, and this is the problem with black police officers, is that they have a dual allegiance. I mean, they have to protect, their jobs and their comrades, their colleagues, their coworkers, the industry they're in. And sometimes that's a conflict of interest. I'm not saying it is in this case, but most cases it is. So I get it. I believe she's sincere. I don't believe she's capping. I don't believe she's, coming with any fugazi. And in this case, she is correct. This isn't like the fault of the police, except for the fact that there were several calls about this particular store having incidents with customers, particularly black ones.
That is not true. This young man, Cyrus Belton, was shot by a local store owner. There have been incidences at that store before. There have been complaints. They have police reports for these things. And there you have it. There have been police reports. But what was done about these reports? Was there anything significantly done? Because I think if there was, then that would have been a deterrent for him to act like he acted over some fucking water. So yeah, we got to hold everyone accountable. But right now the focus is on Rick Chow. And just for the sake of time, let's get to the solution on this. Let me play this clip that I seen of a good black woman, very well, very eloquently, very directly speaking on solutions that I think we need to really enforce.
Shot for allegedly shoplifting. He wasn't. He was chased down and shot in the back. I saw a woman saying that we need to march. No, we don't. If it's a Shell gas station and you stop shopping with Shell across the country until something is done, you shut them down. You shut them down. If it's a McDonald's, if it's a Walmart, if we stop shopping, they'll stop doing this. No real change occurs without stopping the flow of money.
Look, those are facts. Those are facts. Like for all the rhetoric I've been hearing about how Asians are saying that they're not safe. They don't feel safe because we may harm them. Okay. If they feel that safe, they need to pack up and leave our communities. If they don't feel safe, why don't we do them a solid and quit patronizing and supporting their stores? I don't just mean this gas station. Yeah, if we boycott all the Shells, the corporation will put pressure to make sure something's done. Even if it's a franchise, they will still put pressure to make sure there's something done. And then we extend that also to other Asian-owned stores. The nail shops, ladies. Yes. Where you get your wigs and weaves from, ladies. Yes. Where you get your swishers from, brothers. Yes. These smoke shops. These moms and pop stores in our community that, of course, they're convenient and they're close and they're, they may not card us and whatever the case may be. Nah, we got to go ahead and pull back. If you have to go a few more blocks or spend a few more bucks, then that's what you do. We've done this before. 2015, 2016, we did something called the blackout. And all the independent black media that I'm aware of, that I'm affiliated with, we all was pushing this from about October to January. And when we did the numbers, they lost significant amount of billions of dollars were lost during the holiday seasons because of that. It was successful. We did the numbers. Billions were lost. And as a result, what they did is they started targeting our people that much more vigorously, just to let you know that they felt the pressure. Well, that's what we need to do again. See, we're talking about withholding our votes through politics, and this is making them react a certain way. This is why they're sending these tethers, these coons, these agents, these Democratic shills attacking us, trying to undermine us, speaking against us, because we're being successful. Well, now we need to add to the repertoire of what we know we can get done, and that is going to be to withdraw our money from empowering these corporations and even small businesses that don't contribute and that are actually a detriment. And if we do that, we dry them out. Next thing you know, they have to shut down and sell it. And guess what? Now we buy those. It's time for that. That's what needs to be done at this moment in time. Let this be the catalyst for that.
If we continue to spend our money, then what's the lesson here? There's no consequences or repercussions. And if there's no consequences or repercussions, why would they stop doing it? When will we learn? Stop the flow of money. That's right. Jeez, it's not that hard.
Facts. Stop the flow of money. They will start. Listen, there's only two things. I'm going to play this last clip. There's only really two things that they respect. I'm speaking of dominant society, white folks, non-blacks. Respect two things: blood and money. If you can't make them hemorrhage one of those things, there's not even a conversation. If you can, they will sit down at the negotiation table and we can get things done. This is why we're effective on the pull-up summer 2020. Because we applied pressure. We costed them money and we pushed up with smoke. And there was things burning all over the country which costed money, and it also threatened not only the well-being of those who opposed us, but it also threatened the status quo way of operation. And because of that, even though we should have sustained it longer, that lets them know there's a reason why in the 60s, yes, we did boycotts effectively. And we also let them know that we ready to get down for the get down. That's when they listen. That's when things will change. Power respects power, and that's it. Let me play this clip from Nuri Muhammad. This is something that I believe it's on my, maybe it's under the shorts on this channel, but let's just go ahead and revisit it.
Blood and money. See, hands up. White people don't respect nothing but blood and money. See, hands up, don't shoot. Should have been hands down, don't buy. Would mean that black people boycotted Christmas. White people don't respect nothing but blood and money. See, hands up, don't shoot. Should have been hands down, don't buy. Would mean that black people boycotted Christmas. What if the us or else meant that black people would make an economic withdrawal for a couple of weeks? The economists did a breakdown of Baltimore and found that if black people in Baltimore for the murder of Freddie Gray would have just stopped spending money with white people for 28 days, the economy of Baltimore would have been completely shut down. So what happens whenever we go with the justice look like, and you decide not to give us, and we decide to say, okay, well, if you won't give us justice, then we won't spend our money. Then America will in fact be shut down.
And that really goes, especially on a smaller scale, that goes for these businesses even more. I mean, the really for us to withdraw our economics and to redirect them to ourselves would be a build and a destroy. We'd be destroying the apparatus, which is funded by capitalism and funded by dollars, our dollars, to oppress us. We're essentially funding our own oppression. Now, if we would redirect that to our own businesses, now we would be building up our economies all across the country. Right now, we spend about 2% of our money with our own. Economists has calculated that if we up that to 10%, it would create 1 million jobs. 1 million businesses, jobs, stimulating our own economy, lowering the crime rates in cities where we are challenged for employment. And then if we put it in our own banks, now we really on to something. This is what we did to make Black Wall Street and all the dozens of towns, the scores of towns that we had prosperous even during a depression. The mistake is we didn't properly secure them. So if we want justice, we got to make sure that this story doesn't die. We got to make sure that we keep pressure on the justice system and what's going on in South Carolina to make sure that he is not just charged, he's already been charged, but that he is tried and prosecuted to the fullest extent, coupled with withdrawing our money to let them know we mean business. Because if we continue to shop with them, and this is a problem that I've had with some of the sisters who would get beat up at these nail shops, and then we pull up on these nail shops and they be the first ones telling us that we're causing too much ruckus and leave it alone and all this bullshit. Nah. We got to put the pressure. Let them know, because they can't survive us without us. They simply can't. Make them shut down and we open it back up. You got to pay a couple extra bucks, so be it. You got to go a couple extra miles, a couple blocks out the way, so be it. That's what we do. It's survival. At this point, it's a matter of survival. That's the business. We boycott the shells. We boycott the small Asian businesses that are claiming that we're harming them so much, but they're actually harming us. We shut them down. We let them know we mean business until they contribute to our communities. Stop harming us. That's what we do. And if the brothers on the street want to get a little bit more, if they feel like there has to be other consequences, then so be it. So be it. South Carolina, stand up. Foundational Black Americans in America, stand up. If there's any allies out there, stand up. We're going to get justice. Or else. Anyway, thanks for watching, y'all. Liberation Minded Media. This is Jay Dizzle. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Share this. If you have your own platforms, make sure you're covering this. Don't let this die out. Do not let this die out. We must continue to press. Peace.